Hello, I'm Stephen Brown and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. Now, as the Championship promotion race enters its final stages, we've put together a little roundtable of fans from the top 4 clubs still in the hunt for automatic promotion. Now, if you're watching us on YouTube, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you're watching along on Twitter, please do give a like to the video and retweet us as well. So, joining us on the show tonight, I'm delighted to say we've got Ipswich fan Rich from Talking Town. We've got Locks from Leicester Fan TV. We're also going to be joined a little bit later on by our in-house Leeds correspondent, Jason Booker, as well. And also we're hoping to speak to Southampton fan and journalist Martin Sanders just a little bit later on to get a viewpoint from the Saints as well. Okay, well, good evening, gents. Let's get into it. We had a little bit of pre-video chat there. I think we're all feeling it a little bit going into these final few games of the season. Rich, I do want to start with the table toppers first, though. An incredible first year back in the Championship for Ipswich. For a bit of context for where Ipswich are in the league now, can we just rewind that clock a little bit? Can you just tell us a little bit about what your expectations as an Ipswich fan were coming into this season?
Yeah, thanks for having us on. Firstly, Steve, I'm looking forward to suffering a little bit with everybody on here because we obviously, like we said before we started, we're all going through the permutations and it's driving us up the wall. So, look, we've done a preview show on our show, Talking Town, before the season started. And I think, look, I'm quite I wouldn't say pessimistic fan. You've got quite a few optimistic fans who said we're going to be top 2. And I thought, no way. I honestly never thought that we'd be in the mix like come 3 games to the end of the season. I think I said between 8th and 12th. I thought, look, we could push maybe towards the playoffs. But the gap, I thought, between League One, obviously, we'd been there for 4 seasons. It was a struggle. You know, we had management changes and then ownership changes, and it's been fantastic. Look, under the new manager, Kieran McKenna, we'll probably talk about him in a little bit. But, yeah, I thought between 8th and 12th, I thought maybe get a victory over our local rivals because we've obviously not beaten them for, well, it's 15 years now, and we obviously lost a couple of games ago, and they like to remind us. So, yeah, it's been an unbelievable season so far, and we're so close, but we're so far away. And I think we all probably feel like that a little bit tonight. You know, you're looking at the line and look at the last couple of games. I mean, everybody's stumbling over themselves, aren't they? And Southampton are ready to pounce. So, yeah, look, there's a long way to go, but I've just enjoyed the season. I thought it's absolutely fantastic so far.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to admit, I think they're the story of the season at Ipswich Town because in my mind, I always think of Ipswich Town as a top club. So, you know, from my generation, they were in the Premier League. They've got a rich history. Bobby Robson, Alf Ramsey. You know, they've won the UEFA Cup. You know, they've achieved a lot as a club in history. But they've obviously been in the doldrums for a while, like you say, 4 years in League One. How has McKenna done this? I mean, is it him alone that's just kind of sprinkled the stardust and made it come alive? Or, I mean, how has this kind of rebirth happened?
I think, look, when we're in League One and we have, if people don't know about Town, we had an owner called Marcus Evans. Now, very, very wealthy man, right? But didn't really have, I would say, football knowledge. And he never got the right people in the right positions. When he came in, I remember we were at Norwich. We were all waving £20 notes and singing, "Oh, we're loaded" and all this. And obviously Roy Keane was the manager then. So, and at the start, he did spend quite a bit of money because I think, but no, it wasn't Roy Keane. It was Jim McGill. And then he got sacked and then Roy Keane came in just after that. But I think we all thought Keane coming in, ex-Sunderland, got them promoted. And I think that's what Marcus Evans thought. He thought he's gone for a big name here, you know, get Town in the spotlight. It didn't work out. And then we went through, like, obviously, we had Mick McCarthy, Paul Hurst, Paul Jewell, Paul Lambert. Weren't great with Pauls. So it was hoping when the next manager got picked, it wasn't going to be a Paul. And look, Paul Cook, obviously, he went to Chesterfield. Yeah. Look, I was a big fan of Paul Cook when he came in. He called himself the demolition man, Steve. And it was a case of the club did need, playing-wise, it did need sort of demolishing. So he did start it. And there's several players in the team at the minute who are playing, who were obviously Paul Cook signings. You got Sam Morsey, obviously Cameron Burgess, Connor Chaplin. So he started the work, but he was never Mark Ashton, who's CEO, and the game changer, David, the new owners who came in. I don't think he was ever their man. So you always see, don't you, when a new ownership comes in, that the manager's on a little bit of borrowed time, and then they move him on. And look, when Kieran McKenna was obviously appointed, obviously he's had to pack up early because he had a career-ending injury. And but he said the other night when he won, he got manager of the season at the EFL Awards. He's a young coach, relatively in the Football League, but he's been doing this for a long time. He was at Spurs, he was at Forest, then he was obviously at United, and he worked under Mourinho, Ralph Rangnick, Solskjaer. So he's been doing that grounding there. Now, when he came in, did anybody think? Look, I've got his stats here. This is league, Steve. This is just in the league since he's came in. 112 games. We've won 65, drawn 33. We've only lost 14. And four of them were in the first. He came in the December time, and that was in that first half of when he took over to the end of that season. So in nearly 2 seasons, we've lost 10 games. So we've got a win percentage of 58%. So look, is it just him? I don't think it's just him because, like I say, you've got the game changer took over. They appointed Marcus Evans CEO, and they've got the right people in the right positions, from the top, working down. And then you appoint your coach, then he's appointed his staff, then the players, and everybody's pulling together. Mark Ashton always says about, we can't do this on our own. We need everyone working as one. And we are at the minute. Everybody's pulling in the same direction. And McKenna's probably, I'd say personally, I don't know what you two think, he's probably the most coveted coach for me in the Football League. It worries me a little bit if we didn't get promotion that somebody might come and take him. But I think he's quite a loyal person. I know in football there's not a lot of loyalty. And I think it'd have to be the right club and the right... So I hate the word project, but it'd have to be the right project for him to take over a club. I don't think it'd just be anybody come calling. So, yeah, I'd hope if we didn't make it, we'd get at least another season out of him. Look, I will be absolutely gutted when McKenna moves on because I'm realistic to know he won't stay at town forever. But I'm just hoping that we can get over the line and get in the Premier League. Get in the Premier League. Look, we've been there, I think 5 years, Steve, out the last 30. We ain't been an established Premier League club we haven't been since the Premier League was formed. Obviously back in when it was the first division under Robson, and we were one of the mainstays. And then obviously we built a stand. We had to sell the team. I started supporting Town in '84, and it was right at the end of when we were a good side. And a couple of seasons, then we got relegated to the old Division 2. So it's, for me, get to the Premier League, changes the landscape of your club for probably the next 5 years. And then you might be a bit of a yo-yo team, but then you've got that chance of going down, coming straight back up. You've got obviously more money. So it just changes the landscape of your club overnight. But massive fan of McKenna, massive fan of McKenna.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it kind of reminds me a little bit, slightly different in some ways, but when Leeds got Bielsa and it kind of just rejuvenated and breathed life into the club that was kind of going nowhere. You've mentioned there about being worried about his possible future. I know there was links to, I think, when the Palace job came up, etc. And always, like you say, he's very coveted. You can imagine clubs of that level in the Premier League are keeping an eye on him. But, it's a different level. But I look at Alonso staying at Bayern Leverkusen and the grass isn't always greener, is it? If he's got the right project at Ipswich, there's that potential. And, if they go up to the Premier League this season, I mean, that opens up a whole load of opportunity for him and growing Ipswich, doesn't it?
Yeah, I look at a team like Brighton. Yeah. I remember Brighton when they didn't have a ground. I went to the Withdean. It was like you would go. I didn't go to the Goldstone ground. I didn't start going away till about '96. So you look at Brighton and look how they've grown as a football club, and they've done some. Look, you look at the money they're making, the players they've signed, and they've been able to sell on. So that's the sort of blueprint I look at. But look, it's hard if you get to the Premier League. You just maybe scrapping down the bottom, and it's all about maybe surviving that first season or two. But then you look at another. I remember Town playing Brentford when Brentford were like a League Two team in the. They were in the old second division then, and just going off tangent a little bit. And then I hear today when I was about the FA Cup, and I see an interview put up about when Thomas Frank, when they played Wolves early in the season. Oh, we don't want replays. I see a bit on Twitter. They had a replay back when they were literally scrambling down with the dead men. It made them 500 grand. So people have very short memories, and but look, Town I just love. There's a lot of younger fans. We sort of they lost a generation of fans. Town when we had like Mick done a really good job, but the football he played, I think we all know that Mick McCarthy's not exactly. It's great on the eye, is it? It's effective football, but we sort of the way the club was running, and we were getting. There's games there where they were saying crowds of 15, 16,000. You're looking around thinking, there's no way there's 15, 16,000 here today. You're lucky if you got 10,000. Now you can't get a ticket home or away. And it's just that everybody wants to be involved. And it's like you're on that ride now and you just want to take it to the top division. You know, look, a little part of me, I hate the Premier League, what it all, VAR and all this rubbish. But we all want to get there, don't we? We want to get there for the money. Yeah. So we just got to wait and see what happens in these remaining 3 games.
Yeah, absolutely. Locks, I want to bring you into the conversation and kind of have a similar kind of line of questioning as I did with Rich there in terms of expectations at the start of the season. Now, obviously, you came down with Leeds United last season, just a horror show last season for both us and Southampton. When it came to this season, obviously, you got Enzo Maresca in, who'd had kind of a short stint in Italy as a manager. What were your expectations coming into this season? Were you demanding that the club compete and go straight back up, or what was your thinking coming into it?
Well, I mean, my pre-season expectation, my pre-season prediction was actually breaking the points record. So that tells you where my head was at the start of the season. I think, look, there's no doubt that Leicester fans and probably Leeds fans as well, the expectation was up at the first time of trying, straight back up. And, when Enzo Maresca came in, it was the usual kind of media trained talk about, promotion isn't isn't kind of the only success this season, kind of rebuilding the team and the mentality of the squad and the fan base, because it was obviously at rock bottom at the time. That was more important. And obviously, look, we started the season well. I saw a comment earlier on saying that there was a Leicester fan who told an Ipswich fan that they were going to finish 20 points above Ipswich. And, at one point, we need to remember it did look like that was going to happen, until only a couple of months ago. So there's no doubt that myself and majority of Leicester fans demanded and still demand, promotion at first try. And the squad that we've got, we have to do it. And if we don't do it, it's a failure. And I think I've seen Leicester fans say that even promotion to the playoffs is a failure. Top 2 has to be the priority. And, it's looking shaky at the minute after a start that was record breaking for the championship. And, fans from other clubs, from other championship clubs always say, well, what, you have, it's not an achievement what you're doing. And I think, well, no, I understand the point. I understand that we had we had the most expensive squad in the championship history. That's a fact. And we should have done what we were doing, but the drop off has just been, I know you spoke about a drop off, Steve, but the Leicester drop off has been, I mean, unbelievable. It's just crazy. At Christmas time, I don't think I've ever experienced since we won the Premier League title in 2016. The positivity around the place was, on par with that. The fact that we were steamrolling the league. We weren't steamrolling games and teams, but we were steamrolling the league in terms of points and the gap to Leeds and Ipswich. And literally in the space of 6 weeks, it went and it's gone rock bottom now. It's crazy. There's people calling for Enzo Maresca's head. There are a lot of doubts around Enzo Maresca, and I have my doubts as well. But yeah, it's just, I just find it baffling how different we are mentality wise to 2 months ago, mate. It's crazy.
Yeah, I kind of want to explore that as well, because from the outset, Maresca and Leicester, it just seemed like a perfect fit. You have this fantastic start. It looks like an absolute steamrolling machine, but there was always kind of murmurings about a little bit of discontent, even when you were right at the top. Not fully satisfied the fans with whether that's the style of play or whatnot. What is that relationship like between Enzo and the fans now? Because I heard yourself, Locks, where you were saying about some of his statements can be a little bit arrogant. It's kind of, he said a few things in the media where, you raise an eyebrow and said, you really need to be doing that. You don't want to motivate our opponents anymore. But what is that kind of state of the relationship between Maresca and the fans now?
I mean, the doubts, I think there was a divide in the fan base around maybe November, December, January, those couple of months. And not to be, not to kind of discriminate against ages, but it was the older fans that had a problem with the way we played football. It was the older fans, and a lot of Leicester fans, even when we were beaten, we beat Stoke 5-0 or something, and there were still fans coming out saying, I don't like the style of play. Why can't we play 4-4-2? And it's like, come on, mate. We're top of the league and we're dominating it. But obviously, the way we play, it's about patient football. It's not the most exciting, for the majority of the game. And when you're winning games, you can overlook that. Any football fan, as long as you're winning games and you're beating teams and you're picking up as many points as you can, there's not really too much to complain about. But when the results started to drop off, I think that's where, now the majority rather than the minority, the majority of fans now are doubting Enzo Maresca because of his inability, or he just doesn't want to change things. He doesn't want to, there's a whole thing in the Leicester fan base at the minute about plan B. There is no plan B at Leicester. I don't know if any of you guys saw the Plymouth game or the Millwall game, but it was the same for 90 minutes. We play the same when we're 1-0 up as we do when we're 1-0 down, and it doesn't change. And if it does change slightly, maybe two strikers on the pitch, that's not until the 90th minute. So it's frustrating, mate. In terms of what you're saying about, his ego and some of the comments he makes in the media, I mean, the most infamous one was the Leeds game. In his press conference before the Leeds game, he said something like, it's just another game for us. It's a big game for Leeds. And at the time, obviously, the Leeds fan base went into meltdown over that. And
we did.
At the time, and look, if you've got thousands and thousands of Leeds fans, if it's affecting them, more than likely it will affect the players, and that they'd have seen it and whatever. So at the time, I kind of just shrugged it off as maybe like being lost in translation. How some managers come out and even players say like, "Oh, it's just game by game" and all of that. I kind of saw it as that, but as time's gone on, I think with the drop off in performances and results, you've seen his ego come out even more. I think in how defensive he gets, and he also made comments this season about when there were doubts about the way we play, the philosophy in a way. He said that if there's any doubt within the team of this style of football, I'll leave, I'll quit. So, he backs himself, and I mean, I know I've been saying recently, he's got a big ego for someone who's done relatively nothing in the managerial game, but he's worked under one of, if not the greatest manager that we've seen, and assistant managers don't always make good number ones, and we've seen exceptions of that. I mean, you look at Vincent Kompany, what he did last season in the Championship, very successful. And it did look like it was going to be a very successful season for Leicester. But look, we've got 4 games left. I know you guys have got 3, and we really can't call whether we're going to win the league and be back in the Premier League, or we could be 4th. That's crazy. Obviously, the Southampton revival. Well, I don't even want to call it a revival. I think it's just a drop off from us 3. But we could be 1st, we could be 4th, and until the 4th of May, you can't really judge if it's been a successful season or not, which is mental. But,
it's funny as well when you mention about players, team selection, and I mean we've got Daniel Parker, who is getting a little bit of criticism now in terms of very rigid, same players. I mean, we can talk about the tale of 2 strikers, Daka and Bamford, possibly both guilty of certain similar attributes. Myself, I'm a supporter of Bamford in the terms of I've loved his redemption arc this season with Leeds, but I do feel that he could have possibly made way, and Matteo Joseph come into the team recently. How frustrating is it just to see that's kind of same mistake being made over and over again as a fan, and you kind of pulling your hair out thinking, why doesn't the manager see this as well and make a change?
Well, that's it, mate. I mean, look, we're all guilty of thinking we'd be a better manager than the actual man in charge of the club. So look, there's no doubt that Patson Daka, for me, is look, this might be over the top and whatever, and people will argue against it. For me, he's the worst striker in the league, let alone Leicester. And people will say, well, he's still got 10 goals or 11 goals, whatever. And yeah, it's fair. It's fair. I'm sure there's a player in there, but look, I said the other day, mate, that Patson Daka is either like the Brazilian Ronaldo in training, or Enzo Maresca is trying to play him through this bad form, and in the hope that he gets a goal and maybe that kickstarts something. And I personally think that's too much of a risk at this stage. I think it's a lot less risky to actually bring in maybe Tom Cannon, who's in the kind of limited minutes he's had this season has looked good. Obviously, we've got Jamie Vardy. Look, for me, we have the best striker depth in this league. Like, we've got Kelechi Iheanacho, Patson Daka, Jamie Vardy, and Tom Cannon. I don't think any team comes close in terms of just number nines. I know obviously you've got Somerville and Nonto and all of that, but number nines, you've got 4 number nines there that could probably do it at a lower Premier League team. And I just find it crazy now that Patson Daka, in the horrific form he's in, and his confidence is rock bottom. And at this point, I'm not even taking out on him anymore. It's the manager, because to carry on playing him at this point in the season, and the Plymouth game was the worst thing I've ever seen. I mean, he missed 2 absolute sitters, and I felt bad for him because he just looked like he was at rock bottom as well. And at this point, I'm sure, because he's a professional and he's an athlete, he will be saying to Enzo Maresca, no, I want to play. I want to play, and I'll get a goal and all this. But at some point, you've just got to take him out the firing line and play a Vardy or Iheanacho or a Tom Cannon. And Enzo Maresca's view on it is that he helps with the press. I don't know how important that is, because we have the ball for the majority of games, but whatever. Obviously he's the coach, he's the tactical genius apparently. So I'll leave that to him. But at this point, you've got to put a number 9 in there, another number 9. And for me, at the minute, mate, my choice is Tom Cannon, because I don't think Jamie Vardy is, Vardy's past his best, obviously, and Iheanacho is he's good on the ball. He's good at kind of coming in deep, which helps the style of play a little bit, I suppose. But Tom Cannon for me is a natural striker, who a bit like a shoot on sight type of striker. And I think that's what we need at the minute. We need goals, and if he gets the ball, in the penalty area, I truly believe, he will just hit it. And that sounds a bit rash, and that sounds maybe something we don't need. Trust me, it is what we need, because we are not scoring goals, and it's too patient. We're not shooting when we should, and we're not passing when we should. It's just, it's infuriating, frustrating. But I think it's time for Patson Daka to. Yeah, I mean, I'd rather Bamford over Daka all day long. I really would. I'd rather him. I see Leeds fan. I mean, like I said, I go on Joe's YouTube channel, and I always see Leeds fans complaining about Bamford. I'd take him all day over Patson Daka.
Yeah. Rich, just coming back to Ipswich then. A couple of players I do want to talk about. You kind of a Leeds angle on the first one is Leif Davis, who made the move down to Ipswich. I think Leeds fans, it was interesting with Leif Davis. He was always one of those who was kind of on the periphery, and you thought, I wonder if he's going to get a chance at Leeds. I think Bielsa liked him, but it was one of those situations where he never kind of broke through. I think we had Jesse Marsh, who wasn't keen, and then he kind of went to Ipswich, and we almost kind of thought, we'll forget about him now. But I mean, unbelievable numbers that this guy puts up. I mean, talk to us about Leif Davis. I mean, what a player he's been for you guys.
He did have the greatest game at Ellen Road. I think you probably
no, that's true. Yeah, Agent Davis, wasn't it?
I remember he got a standing ovation when he got subbed. He had to walk behind the goal, and I'm thinking, you're 4-0 up, and you're going to be good. Look, he's been a great sign. Obviously, you loaned him to Bournemouth, and he got a promotion. He came last season. I think he got 13 assists last season, and this season he's got 17 assists from left back. which is the record in the Championship. He's the highest assist. I think Rutter, I think he's second, obviously behind him. But look, Leif Davis, he's destined for the Premier League. I think whatever happens this season, I think he's that good. Defensively, there's probably question marks against him. He's probably your typical fullback. You know, you look at Trent at Liverpool, brilliant going forward, not great defensively. Whereas I think he's definitely improved, Davis, but I still think there's obviously massive improvement to make on that defensive side. Look, going forward, he's got a great left foot. I personally, he's got a couple of goals of late. He should score more goals, I think. He's that good. He's got a great shot. I don't know if you see the goal he scored against Southampton a couple of weeks ago. Just lashed it in, then he'd top of the net.
Brilliant.
20 million plus for me. With the prices nowadays, and Mark Ashton, when he was at Bristol City, he had a player called Adam Webster, who was at Town when Mick was manager, and he went to Bristol City, and I think we sold him for 3 million. I think he played a season at Bristol City, and they sold him to Brighton for 25 million. So Ashton knows what he's doing, and it wouldn't even surprise me if Town did go up that someone came in for him anyway. You know, I'd hope that he'd stay at Town and play a season in the Premier League if we make it. But yeah, look, he's a great player. I don't know if Leeds are probably, they must have a sell-on option. I would have thought there. I would have thought. I'm not saying yet, but I don't think England have got loads of left backs. For me, you got Shaw, you got Chilwell. You play players out of position. They'll play a Trippier over there. I think Leif Davis, he can play international football. I'm not saying yet, but I think in 2 or 3 years, the way his career's going on the upward curve, the only thing that concerns me a little bit at the minute for Town is he has to play every minute. We haven't really got the biggest squad, and the last 2 or 3 games, he's looked, not just him, but the team as a whole have looked knackered. We've looked out on our feet, and we're lucky now. We've got 2 weeks off, so we've got a little bit of a break, which could help us. Depends what happens in the games. Obviously, the results, we might be playing catch up. You don't know. Southampton, I think, by the time we play again next Saturday night at Hull, Saints have played another. They played the other night another 3 games. So we're going to be playing catch up. We'll know what we need to do. But yeah, look, Davis, brilliant player. He's your typical sort of modern day fullback for me. Plays really high, especially at home. Obviously, look at our defensive record at home. It's not great. I think we've conceded over 30 goals, but he doesn't play left back. He's miles up the pitch, and a lot of times the play will break down, and that's obviously the way we play teams. If I was going up against Ipswich, I'm looking in behind the fullbacks because both fullbacks get forward. But look, we suffered enough from watching absolute dross football under McCarthy. I mean, look, we concede a few goals, but I think at home, definitely, it's the old adage: as long as we score 1 more than you, it doesn't really matter. I think we've had 6. I think we've had 6 3-2 wins at home this season. There's been some 4-3s in there. There was a 6-0 against Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, we're just unbelievable football.
Well, this kind of leads on to my next question as well, because I hold my hands up. Jason will as well, who's coming on shortly as well, that we expected an Ipswich drop-off at some point in the season. Yeah, you've had a couple of wobbles here and there, but like so those last-gasp victories and everything, it's just not happened, has it? They've not had a proper fall-off of Ipswich, and they've just kept defying expectations all season, really. Yeah,
we dropped off around Christmas time. Obviously, George Hurst, he ruptured his hamstring against Leicester on Boxing Day. He's just coming back to fitness now. We might see him possibly for the last 3 games. I'm not sure. He might be a few minutes here and there off the bench. But then I think we winning about 9. We weren't losing games, but we drew home to QPR just after Christmas, drew away to Stoke. Obviously, before Leicester on Boxing Day, we drew at home to Norwich, a game we should have won. And that was a little bit of a drop-off. And then we got knocked out of the cup by Maidstone, which wasn't great, you know. But I think in a way that might have helped us because it was another... Yeah, I did speak about the cup, but I think if you're looking at our season as a whole, it was probably another game we could have had that we probably avoided. And then we obviously signed Kiefer Moore in the window. Yeah, he signed Ali Al-Hamadi. We signed from Wimbledon, and we signed Jeremy Sarmiento. He was on loan at West Brom from Brighton. So we got him. I think they've got 14 goals between them.
I remember seeing those signings at the time, Rich, and it was one of those where, okay. They're not kind of holding themselves back. They're pushing it a little here.
Yeah, because we like Hurst had gone, and we played. Caden Jackson played in there. Caden Jackson's one of the only. Him and Janai Denassin, who's injured. I don't think he'll probably play for the club again. He's one. They're the only two players who've survived from the Paul Hurst era when we got relegated. And Caden Jackson's got a lot of critics out there. McKenna's a big fan. Not the greatest player, but he puts in the shift and he'll play wide. But he played as a 9, not really his role as a striker on his own. We played Broadhead there. We were really struggling for that central striker. And Kiefer Moore was a player that I looked when we done some of our predictions in the summer. He'd been on my shopping list. He's look, you know what he brings. I think he's a little bit different as a George Hurst. We've missed his. For someone who's like 6'4", McKenna said he's a bit of a freak because he's good in the air, but the running that man does. I mean, after 70 minutes, he was absolutely knackered. Kiefer Moore's come in and he's a different player because he's not got the legs, but he's got that experience, you know, Premier League, played for Wales at the Euros and World Cups and that. He's come in, he's got 6 goals. He's been a little bit off form the last 3 games, but I think then, obviously, we said before, we were chatting, the international break that we had, he played 120 minutes for Wales that night. I think that took a lot out of him. Then he got injured against Southampton on the TV, he got a back spasm. So he's probably another one who's benefiting these 2 weeks off for a rest to come in. But yeah, it's like I did. If I'm being honest, I thought Town might fade away and sort of drop to maybe 4th and comfortably in the playoffs. And then we've gone on I think we'd won 9 out of 11. You know, and there was a game in there, obviously the Cardiff game on Sky when we conceded 2 goals in injury time. That was one when people thought, oh, maybe look, that's a bad defeat. But then, so far, touch wood, we've never lost back-to-back games. McKenna's never lost back-to-back games since he's been at Town. We've never lost a midweek game under McKenna. All these stats are adding up. For me, there's alarm bells ringing a little bit.
Making me feel worse here, Rich. I'm not going to lie.
I've got alarm bells going off in my head. McKenna's never lost back-to-back games. We've never lost in the midweek. But then we've got Hull and Coventry away on a Saturday, Tuesday. And this is a negative in me coming out thinking, oh, blimey, if only we could lose them 2 games. You know, we've never lost back. I don't want to be negative because I don't think we should be in the position that we're in. But look, like I said before we started on here, whatever happens this season, it'll be if we come 3rd. Like you were saying, Locks, you know, nobody knows where they're going to finish between 1st and 4th. Yeah. You know, and we're sitting here with 3 or 4 games to go and it's absolutely mental. So if Town finished in the top 2, absolutely brilliant. If we finished in the playoffs, I know there'd be initial disappointment that we miss out, but at the start of the season... I think you handle
it the best, though. If you finish in the playoffs, I think you've got the most chance of recovering from that because I feel like Southampton, Leeds and Leicester, especially Leeds and Leicester, if one of us end up in the playoffs, I just think, oh, no, forget it. So
I think whoever comes... I think whoever comes 3rd, I think it's going to take a massive mental effort to lift yourself because if we look at the minute, if we finish 3rd, who are we going to be playing? Norwich. We haven't beaten them for 15 years. And then there comes out the negative side of like your Town fan base. Oh, we've not beaten them in 15 years. But yeah, we've not beaten them in 15 years. But why can't we beat them over 2 games? You know, we've been brilliant all season. So whatever happens, you know, we can't do anything about it as a fan base. You know, we can only go and support your team and cheer them on. Ultimately, it's down to them players on the pitch and people like Sam Morsey, Massimo Luongo, they're the wrong side of 30. They might not ever have as good a chance to play Premier League football. So I see Morsey today saying, like, we're going to give everything. And I think they really will. And if we fail to go up in the top 2, it won't be through lack of effort. It won't be because them players have given everything all season, and we'll finish where we deserve. You always finish where you deserve to finish, don't they? They say over the season, and whatever will be. It's just a case of I said before, I don't think we've got so much pressure on us as definitely you two, but I still think now there has to be that pressure on Town because without playing for 2 weeks. If some results go against us, you're going to be looking at that table thinking, I know it's in our hands and if we win 3 games, we're up. But that's easier said than done. If you look at the results over the past week, you know, when Leicester played Millwall and Plymouth away and lost and you played 2 home games, you're expecting to win them. We played 2 home games, we're expecting to win them. No one knows what's going to happen. The Championship's absolutely mental.
It is. No, it absolutely is. Well, I'm glad to say joining us now, we've got our Leeds United in-house correspondent. We know him well, obviously, on the West Yorkshire Football Show channel. Jason Booker, straight back from Thorpe Arch as well. Good evening, Jason. We've got locks on for a few minutes more, so I just want to bring up, if we can, some of the fixtures locks, just to get your take on how you think you're going to get on. So I'm just going to bring these up now. Let's have a look. So we will cover Ipswich shortly, but let's start with Leicester, their locks. It's West Brom up next and Southampton. It's 2 home games, but tricky nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, look, we know how well Carlos Corberán can set up his West Brom team. I'm a little bit worried about that. I mean, look, I don't know how many times I've said this season, but like, if we're a serious team, wanting to go back up to the Premier League first time of trying, I know it's not that simple in football, but you win your home games and try and draw your away games in my eyes. And if we can do that, we're up. I mean, if we beat West Brom and Southampton, then we can go to Preston, and if we win that one, we're up. So 3 more wins out of 4 is promotion. All I want to be out of that final day kind of promotion craziness that it's going to be with Southampton versus Leeds. I mean, that's one I want to just enjoy from my sofa and not have to worry about, to be honest with you. So, it's going to be tough, mate. I think, the positives we can take is that our last 2 home games we won. Even in the bad run of form that we've been on, we beat Norwich and we beat Birmingham at home. So, the crowd will be up for it, for sure. I think, earlier on in the season, not long ago, probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, I did a prediction, and I predicted a draw against West Brom, a loss against Southampton, and then for us to win the last 2 games. Now, that might be enough, but, with Southampton in the mix now as well, which no one really expected, all of a sudden they are, you have to go and beat them at this point. And, as I said, it's going to be really tough. I can't call it, mate, if I'm honest with you. I just can't. I'd love to sit here and say, I'm that confident that, Leicester are going to win the league. I'm going to, put my chest out there and say it, but I'm not confident. I'm just simply not very confident in this Leicester team at the minute, in the mentality of the players and the decisions that the manager's making. I don't have much confidence. So I'm going to be boring, mate, and say, sit on the fence, really. If you wanted to hear from me, do I think Leicester will go up? I'm sitting on the fence because I can't call it. What I will say is I don't think we'll win the league. If we do go up, it'll be second. I don't think we'll win the league.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough there. Rich, just looking at Ipswich's race for promotion, you've mentioned it there already. On paper, two tricky games there: Hull City, Coventry City, and then, as Jason well knows, our neighbours Huddersfield Town, who were looking to do a favour. But how do you feel about going into those final 3 games there, Rich?
Just quickly for locks, I've got you getting 10 points from them 4 games. I still look at Leicester and think, surely the penny's going to drop for you, and you've got good players. You've got 3 out of 4 games at home. I think you win them 3 home games. And look, you look at Preston the other night. I don't think they're going to be doing anyone a favour because they were absolutely dreadful against Saints. So I can see that why you're not confident with the form that you're in, but I still think, look, as long as it's in your hands, I think that's what you want, and that's what I want. Looking at these fixtures for us, when we come to the game against Huddersfield at Portman Road on the 4th of May, I want to be going into that game when it's up to us what we do. If we win that game, we're up. And then if we mess it up, it's on us. We don't want to be, anybody doesn't really want to be relying on other teams in that last day of the season. We had it before under George Burley 2 or 3 times, and it was horrible. People were looking at like phones and radios, you're hearing cheers, and then, so you thought a team had scored and then they hadn't scored because it was misinformation. You don't want that. Look, Hull and Coventry, Hull are obviously still got a chance of getting in the playoffs, and so have Cov, but then they play each other, I think, next Wednesday night. So that's going to knock one of them out. And I think both of them are really up against it when you look at the form that Norwich have been on. Norwich, I think they're a point behind West Brom, but I think Albion they'll be in the playoffs. So it could help Town going into them games against Hull and Coventry that they're out of the mix. But then another side of me says, but then the pressure's off them and they can just go and play relaxed football. And sometimes that's a little bit dangerous. But I still think we're going to do it. You know, I have to be confident of where we're sitting at the minute. You know, we're top of the table. I know we've had a chance the last 2 home games to get a couple of wins, but we didn't do it. But then other teams are going to be saying the same with the fixtures that they had. So you're all in the same boat. So I've got us winning 2 and drawing 1 and getting 7 points and ending on 96. You know, if Leeds win 3 games and pip us, so be it. You know, that's just it could come down to goal difference.
Yeah, you're worried about the goal difference kind of situation?
Yeah, possibly. When I look at we're on plus 32, Leicester 41, Leeds 42, Saints 30. Look, if it comes down to goal difference, you just got to suck it up and say, well, that's just you have to. It's just one of them things. Hopefully it won't, and hopefully it'll still be in our hands when we go into that final game against Huddersfield, and they could be relegated. They could be down at that time. They might need to come to ours and win to stay up. So. Look, it's going to be a fantastic end to the season, whatever happens.
I think the perspective for Town changes massively on what Leeds do in this next 2 games. With you having 3 games to play while we only then have the last one, if we go and get 6 points out of this next 2 games, I think that changes them 2 games for you completely.
Agreed.
If we do drop the ball again in either of them 2, I think if we take anything less than 6, it just changes the perspective for them 2 games because you can go into them knowing you can make a mistake. So that's what I think these next 2 games for Leeds are massive for the whole picture.
Yeah, I look at Leeds and normally them two away games, if you got 4 points in normal terms, you'd say, yeah, that's a really good return. But now you're probably one more mistake away from, I think that's you done. If you lost one of them 2 games, I think that's you out. If you took 4 points and then you're 2 ahead of us, we've got 2 games in hand. That gives us 2 bites at the cherry with them 2 away games. If like you say, if you win both of them games, Jason, and you're then 4 points ahead of us with the goal difference, which for me, then that's worth another point. We're simply going to have to go to Hull and Coventry and win both of them games. Now, we were in this situation last season and we had Peterborough away and then Barnsley away. And then we had Exeter last game of the season. We went to Peterborough, won 3-0. We went to Barnsley on a Tuesday night and won 3-0. So I'm hoping that lightning strikes twice. But I know that this time you're up against quality teams, you know, and they've got players that can hurt you. So, yeah, I'm obviously cheering on Borough and QPR when they play. I'm hoping they do us a favour. But look, Middlesbrough are big rivals, isn't they, of you, Jason? So that's like a bit of a derby for them.
They think we are. Yeah.
But for them, it's a little bit of a local derby, so they'd probably love to throw a spanner in your works. I actually think you'll go to Borough and win. I've got a funny feeling. And then QPR, I'm hoping QPR still needs something I think they play Preston at the weekend at home. I'm hoping they don't win that. So they need something from that Leeds game. So, yeah. It
feels very much like the Middlesbrough game is last chance saloon for us. Given the shape of the form and the way the situation's gone, I think we go there and take anything less than 3 points. You're then not going to then start trying to pick the form up away at QPR, 3 days later. For me, it feels like a must-win. I felt like last Saturday was probably a must-win, but then you guys didn't win after us, and obviously Leicester had lost the night before, and it's unbelievable how much we've all been tripping over ourselves. So yeah, who knows, mate?
I said on our show on Sunday, boys, it was like the door was open. And it was like we've been on a night out and got absolutely smashed, and we've come in head first through the door. Instead of walking through it, we've gone head first into the something like the stairs. You just come crashing through. But look, whatever happens, and you will look at games if you miss out by a point, saying if you'd have won this game, if you'd have won that game. But that's football.
You can do that throughout the whole season.
Exactly.
I mean, we could take it all the way back to drawing away at Rotherham after about 15 games. Yeah. Like, you can't do that over a season. At the end of the day, you finish where you deserve. It's gonna be a special finish, lads. That's all I can say. It's gonna be a special ending to the season. Brown is stressing himself out. He's going on. I'm very much a case of I've tried to enjoy this season. last season, I mean, Locke surely can back me up with this as well. Last season was so miserable and horrible, especially for Leeds fans on the back of the season before, that this season winning games, it's been quite nice. And come the end of the season, winner, now a 4-way battle, probably the most competitive finish to a championship season you've ever seen. It's something to enjoy, really. It's not something to be like, oh God, I can't get my head around it. You know what I mean? Like, and the worst case scenario, we have a fail safe of a playoff push. Sure, we probably will lose that as well because we don't do well with playoffs. But I'm choosing to see it in a positive light, personally.
Fair enough. Locks, I know you have to shoot off, mate. Really appreciate you coming on. Remember, you can check Locks out on Leicester Fan TV as well. So I was going to say good luck,
good
I'm
luck,
kind
lads.
of like, I don't know. Take care. Take care.
May the best man or team win. I want to say that.
Locks, it's the most optimistic I've seen you. I've seen you on Joe a lot and on Joe's stream a lot, and you've been like proper pulling your hair out over recent weeks. So it's nice to see that you've kind of, calm to the running.
Exactly.
I get accused by Leeds fans for playing mind games a little bit, and I definitely play mind games with Joe. So when I am really negative on Joe's channel, I'm not actually that negative, just a little bit. So.
Fair enough.
All right, lads. I'll catch you in a bit, right?
Yeah,
all the best.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, Locks. Thank you. Well, I'm delighted to say we're going to get the Southampton perspective now, because delighted to say we're joined by Martin Sanders, Saints fan and journalist as well. Martin, thank you very much for joining us on the show. I know we've got a limited time with you, but really appreciate you coming on. Martin, a few weeks ago, we thought Southampton were out of the picture, but they've come roaring back, 3 points away from Leeds, 5 points away from the top. Just how have the Saints managed to haul themselves back into this promotion chase?
Well, we shouldn't be in it, really. I think we were long gone. I think even our manager admitted a week ago, he said that it was playoffs and we had to prepare for it, and we had 8 games to bring ourselves back into it. Get a bit of form going into those playoffs. I just think the form of the teams around us. I think it was some big shocks in the Championship last weekend. Obviously, Leeds losing to Blackburn was a big shock. They've stuttered a bit last couple of weeks. Leicester are in dreadful form right now. If you look at their form over the last 10, they're 19th in the form guide, struggling to buy a win. I don't fancy them this weekend at all against West Brom. I think West Brom will give them a really good game. I'm not convinced what Leicester will do. And if Southampton can go to Cardiff this weekend and get a win, Cardiff aside with not a lot to play for, and if Southampton can get a win there, I think they go to Leicester and give them a really good game. We found momentum at the right time, and that's the key, isn't it? It's finding momentum. Nobody spoke about it, and when I talk about nobody spoke about it, I haven't heard anyone talk about the rearranged fixtures for Southampton, the Leicester game and the Preston game. When we were going to play Preston a couple of weeks ago, we weren't in any form at all. We had Carl Walker-Peters out injured. We just weren't in any groove whatsoever. And the same with the Leicester game. We were supposed to play Leicester. They had the FA Cup game. We were bang out of form. Carl Walker-Peters, our best right back, was injured. Ryan Fraser was injured. The squad had a few youngsters in from the academy. And all of those being rearranged is going to do us a favour, because all of a sudden we've had three games at home against some tough sides, and we've just run ourselves into a little bit of form. And let's not get carried away as a Southampton fan, but we still need to go to Cardiff and do a job to put ourselves really, really in it, I think.
Yeah, what's your verdict on Russell Martin then? I know he splits opinion. I know he's got this kind of very notable style of play. He's been under a little bit of criticism at times. Yeah. I think earlier in the season it seemed like the pressure maybe was getting to him a little bit. But what's kind of Southampton's fans' relationship with Martin at the moment?
Yeah, it's real split. I think you've got to back the manager. I think he's done a really good job. He took us 25 games unbeaten in all competitions. There's no Southampton managers ever done that. It was wonderful what they achieved. And when he settles his side down, and the problem is he probably has too many choices sometimes. He's got too many players to play with, and keeping everyone happy is really, really hard. His captain Jack Stevens got injured for a long period of time. He brought Harwood Bellis in. He formed an incredibly good partnership with Jan Bednarek, and they look so solid together. And all of a sudden Jack's fit, and he wants him in the side because he's the captain. And you're trying to accommodate all the time, and he's got so many players. But I just think you've got to play your best team. The team that were good in the 25-game unbeaten run, I just think he went back to that on Tuesday night against Preston. A left back at left back, Carl Walker-Peters at right back, the two centre-backs that played in that 25-game unbeaten run, a nice balanced midfield, and Shea Adams up front. I've got to give him a shout-out because he's been outstanding the last month, 2 months. He's a real handful. He could fire Southampton big time. He's just like, I've never seen him play like he's playing. He's electric at the moment. So I'm excited by Saturday. We just need to go and get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, one thing as a Leeds fan, I was watching the goals against Preston the other night, and the
Preston were dreadful, by the way.
Yeah. We have to caveat with that, don't we? We do have to caveat with that. But some of the football Southampton was playing, some of the little interlinking moves, and we've not seen that Leeds do that for a while now. They've not got that fluidity at the moment of Leeds. We're looking at a lot of our forward players have just kind of dropped down that level. It could just be a case that you're just peaking just at that right moment to come and steal it potentially.
He did it last season at Swansea, Russell. He went. I looked at his last 9 games in charge at Swansea last season. He managed to pick up 7 wins and a couple of draws. So he knows how to run sides into form. He would continue to play the same way. I think the 2 away games now do us a bit of a favour because our fan base get a little bit rattled when we play it across the back and the goalkeeper comes into play. They don't like it. And it makes it edgy. Saturday we conceded against Watford and the fans got real edgy. And when we conceded our second goal, Taylor Harwood-Bellis was under no pressure at centre-back. And the fans are screaming at him, lump it, lump it. He's lumped it. We've got Shea Adams not on the field. Nobody to win the ball. The ball comes straight back and we conceded. Our biggest thing that you probably might have seen is our goalkeeper's out for the season. Gavin Bazunu. But it's not, I would say could be a blessing in disguise.
Mizunu's not a great shot stopper, is he?
He's really struggled this season at times. He likes the ball at his feet, which doesn't help because the players ping it back to him all the time. They put him under so much pressure. He brought in Alex McCarthy the other night, who doesn't like the ball at his feet. He looked to find the extra pass. So Tuesday night, the ball didn't go back to him as much. It went into Joe Aribo a bit more. It went into Stuart Armstrong. And all of a sudden, they can open up the play a bit more. I think it could be a blessing in disguise. He's a good experienced goalkeeper, Alex McCarthy. A lot of the fans were furious that he started him over Joe Lumley, but he's played for England. He's played in the Premier League. He's played at the top level. You've got to go with the experience now and give it everything.
Why did he play him, Martin, the other night? Because he wasn't on the bench, was he?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't even the name substitute. He hasn't been all since, I don't know, maybe August, September time. They were going to bomb him out. The club were going to bomb him out. He goes out and warms up with the players before the game, and Joe Lumley's been the 3. Was the 3 and become the 2, and Alex become the 3. It was a strange decision that he went for him, but I'm glad he did because Lumley wants the ball at his feet. But he didn't do great, Lumley, last year at Borough, at Reading, and he was at Borough the year before. His stats are not great. I just think you've got to go with the best possible, the most experience. I think he made the right call, Russell Martin, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at it kind of from the start of the season, Martin, what were your expectations? I mean, we talked to Locks earlier, obviously, as Leeds fans, Leicester fans. Certainly, we expected to challenge. I think Locks said they wanted to break the championship points record. But from a Southampton point of view, because I think you were already down before Leeds got relegated last season. It was quite an early relegation, wasn't it? Yeah, it was just a pitiful year all round. But I mean, what did you think coming into this year? What were your expectations? Is this kind of where you expected to be, kind of where you are at the moment?
Yeah, I thought we'd be. But if we could get in the playoffs, I thought we'd be doing really, really well. To be honest, massive transition. Like a lot of clubs when we get relegated, we lost a lot of players. New manager, a totally different system, a totally different style of play. A lot of loan players. It was a messy start to the season because everyone was still getting sold. We're 3 games in and we were selling players. Well, I think Nathan Teller played the first 4 games and then was sold. Yeah. You had. Prowse played the first 2 games and then he sold. It's just like it was really, really difficult start. But once it was always going to be a transitional year really, and just to get in the playoffs. But if you could get automatic, that was the ownerships kind of come out and said that they wanted automatic promotion, that they wanted to win the league, they wanted to go back, and that was the ambition. But they're going to say that. But it's their best opportunity. If they don't do it this year, it's going to be really hard. But he's got a great group of players. He's blessed with what he's got. Just got to give it a really, really good go now.
What about Adam Armstrong? Talk to us about his season. I mean, 20 goals, 13 assists, incredible numbers, Martin.
He's been electric. He's been brilliant. He's had 2 really hard years here, like 2 really, really difficult seasons. In the Premier League, I think he scored three goals in 2 seasons, about 52 appearances. He had a really, really barren time. Didn't fit with any of the managers. It was well known that he wanted to leave in the summer, even when Russell come in. He was ready for a fresh challenge. He was linked with Rich's boys, with Ipswich. I think Kieran was very, very keen on him. And he wanted a fresh start, but Russell convinced him to stay along with a few others. He gave him the vice captaincy, and he just got the best out of him. Adam wants to play as a 9. He doesn't play as a 9. He plays sort of on the right or the left of the front man. But I think he scored 20 goals. He's had a ridiculous amount of assists, a ridiculous amount. He was involved in everything good about us the other night. I think he's a key man, and he's been fit, touch wood, all season. So
how did he not make the team of the season, Martin?
I can't believe he didn't make it.
Nor can I.
I just really, really surprised with it. He said he was really hurt by it. He actually come out and said he was really hurt by it. But he just needs to respond now and just go and do what he does. He win loads of awards down here at the end of the season, that's for sure. But I can't believe he missed out on it. I'm just flabbergasted.
You know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of when Dwight Gale stepped up to the Premier League. He's not quite at the level where he can score consistently at that level, but he's too good for the Championship.
Massive step.
Yeah, it's a big step, especially for the kind of striker that he is. And then obviously you combat that with the fact that Southampton were poor last season anyway, and they're getting less chances. You're having to be more clinical. All these things then add up, and it's a totally different playing field, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It is. And we just shifted through so many managers. In last season, we went through 3 managers, all different styles of play. You had one guy that wanted to play a high press and go after teams. It didn't really have loads of the ball. Then you had a manager that wanted to lump it long, in Nathan Jones, and then they reverted back to Sellers, who didn't really have a clue what he was doing, and it was just a disaster.
You nearly had Jesse Marsh as well, didn't you, at one point?
Oh, we nearly ended up with Jesse Marsh as well, which was a freaking nightmare as well. So just all in all, it just was disaster to disaster. But I just hope that they can see it through. I hope they stick. I hope Russell stays. There's a lot of talk that Brighton want him. Russell Martin, heavily linked with Brighton. But he's done a decent job, splits a fan base, but I like him. I think he's united the fan base. And he's young, makes mistakes, but he just needs to keep his cool now. He needs to keep his cool.
You wouldn't be having this conversation with us now, Martin, if you'd have taken Jesse Marsh at the end of last season, because he'd have been your manager at the start of this season, and he wouldn't have you in the promotion hunt, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I'm glad we dodged a bullet on that one.
Looking at the fixtures then, Martin, what do you make of those? Obviously, the 2 there, Leeds United away, Leicester City away. What do you make of those final 4 games for the Saints?
I'm relishing it as a fan. I'm really looking forward to going to Cardiff the weekend. I think it's must win. It's a cup final, really. I think lose it and they probably will be out of it. So it's such fine margins. We have to go to Cardiff and get 3 points, minimum of 3 points, and then you would say it's back on. It gives us that opportunity to go into the Leicester game, depending on what they do against West Brom at the weekend. I think we should be. If we can get the result we need the weekend, I think we'll be relishing going to the KP. We won there last year in the Premier League. Shay Adams was at the double that day. I think it's I'd rather play them away actually than I would at home. We owe them one after that 4-1 smash in August, big time. So I fancy us to go there and get a result. I think we'll go right again. We'll go up against them as well, and I think we've got the players to hurt them as well. I thought we were good against Ipswich for 75 minutes. We just run out of steam, and that day our goalkeeper wasn't good enough, and they were
best team we played at Portman Road, Martin. I
mean,
it was a real high level game. If you look at the game, we were probably lucky that we're still in the game at half time. We could have been 3-4-1 down, and it was just a case. I said to my lads, you just got to stick in the game here, and it's what we done. We made the subs, and I mean, the ending. I mean, I've been following Town for 40 years. The Sarmiento winner, like 10 seconds from the end, it was absolutely incredible. And them 2 points could make all the difference at the end of the season for us. I think personally, you've got a great chance. If you win 4 games, I think you're up.
Yeah, I think we win the 4, we'll be up. I think it. Can we do it? I think the Stoke game at home, you should get 3 points at home. Final home game of the season, and then look, it could be a playoff game between Leeds and Southampton for the final game. It could be a shootout potentially, couldn't it? Depending on what Leeds do the next couple of fixtures. I think they've got a really hard game Monday. against Borough. Borough frustrate sides. They were a nightmare to play against at our place. They're a nightmare. They just get men behind the ball and frustrate the hell out of you. Richard say that he would have seen them on Saturday. They're not easy to play against. And Latte, they break quite quick and they break in numbers at times as well, don't they?
I thought they played really well at Az. It was a case of they had two great chances. Laggy, our keeper's done. I don't know if you've seen him. He done two fantastic saves. To me, a little bit though, the last 15 minutes, I'm thinking Borough need to win this game, because they still had an outside chance of getting the playoffs, and they didn't really poll too many men forward. But yeah, I agree with you, Martin. They're a good side, and I think they'll be bang up for the game on Monday night, obviously against Leeds. Carrick with his Man United links, I think. Yeah. He'll tell them what it means to play against Leeds, and I think it's a tough game for Leeds. I think Leeds personally. I think Leeds will win on Monday. I've just got a funny feeling that they will win. But with your fixtures, Martin, I mean, you could help us out. You really could help us out
massively.
here. Them two games. You're looking at. I said before, one more defeat for Leeds. I think that's them done.
Yeah, I felt that. I think for Southampton and Leeds, it's one defeat each for Saints and Leeds, wouldn't it? It would end it. Probably.
Yeah, I think Leicester they could possibly, if they won their 3 games, I think that takes them to 97. If they won 3, that might be enough. But I mean, who knows what's going to happen?
I think
it's great to be watching at the minute.
I think Town will do it. I think you'll do it. I think if you go and win one of the away games, if you won them both, you'd be home and dry. For me, 2 tough away games, but it depends what sort of how Cov are when. We've got the FA Cup the weekend, seeing what happens with that. If they can get a result, there'd be momentum. But Cov were really poor when we played them the other week. I was really disappointed with Cov. I was really wary of them, but they didn't really test us at all. So, those 2 away games are massive, aren't they? Hull and Cov. Is it Hull first, then Cov?
Yeah, it's Hull. We play next Saturday night. Because obviously you play another 3 games before we play. The pressure could be right on us, but I said before you come on, Martin, it's a case of, I think Hull play Coventry next week. So both of them could be out of it. One of them could still be in. I think probably Norwich will have enough and they won't catch them. So we could be playing them at a good time when both of them haven't got anything to play for. But then that sometimes it makes a team dangerous. They can play a little bit of relaxed football. But
I found that with Southampton last year. We had nothing to play for in the final game of the season. Played Liverpool. And it was the best home performance of the season. Nothing to play for. We're relegated. We've not won a game. We've been awful all season at home. I think we won 2 games at home, and we blew. We were brilliant against Liverpool. It was 3-3. It was ridiculous. I was like, wow. If it done that like a few months before.
Southampton's fixtures are so interesting to this running because the only team that really doesn't have it in their own hands is Leeds. But for me, I'm looking at your fixtures and I'm hoping, this is going to sound a bit mental and Brownie probably won't agree with me, but I hope you win at the weekend because I want you to have as much, no, genuinely, because at that point, you're still on level points with us and behind on goal difference. I want you to go to Leicester and beat them. I want you to take points because at that point, it puts the control back in our hands. If we then go and win our games, because we've got you in the final game of the season, it's back in Leeds' hands. So it's a bit of an alternative way of looking at it. It makes it super interesting. But for me, whatever the result of the weekend, I think a win could benefit us. It's interesting, super interesting.
It's stressful, is what it is.
It's stressful.
Listening to this,
I've never been so engrossed in a football season in all my life. I'm 42. I'm just engrossed. It's a brilliant league. 4 brilliant teams battling it out. It's going to be so interesting.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Martin, well, I
really
really
hope
appreciate
it goes to the wire.
Yeah, certainly.
Mate, I hope it doesn't. I really hope it doesn't. I am not looking forward to that Southampton game at Ellen Road. If
there's the potential on that final day that we can all go up.
All 4 of us.
Could be easy.
There was a permutation I saw.
There
was a permutation I saw the other day, and it wasn't that with only 3 games each, or Leicester with and Southampton with 4. That it's not that wild to think. The permutation had us all finishing on 94 points, all 4 of us. Can you imagine that? 2 teams go up with
our goal difference. We'd take that, won't we, Jason? We'd take that.
Take it out, absolutely.
Our goal difference is a mess.
Martin, well, really appreciate you coming on and
Thanks
making
for
the time
having me.
this evening. Really appreciate
you're
that.
welcome.
it's hard to say best of luck, like I was saying to Locks, but well, like you said, Locks, best man wins, best team wins, and we'll take it from there.
Brilliant, guys. Thank you very much indeed.
All the best.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Thanks, Rich. Cheers.
Jason, this conversation, I don't know if it's harmed or helped, to be honest, because it almost feels like we've just dropped off. I mean, we've talked about this for the last kind of few weeks, but we've kind of dropped off at the worst possible time. I mean, Rich, we were fighting all season to catch you and Leicester up, especially Leicester when they got the 17-point gap, and we finally get back to that point, and then it's just dropped off. My worry with Leeds now is it's not a tap. I don't think we can turn the form back on. We might not need to, but something's got to change in the performance, hasn't it, Jason? Surely.
I don't think much has to change in comparison to the Blackburn performance. As an example, I've made my kind of feelings on this pretty clear. Like I don't think we were that different on Saturday to what we'd been in the winning run between January the 1st and the end of March. I really don't. I don't think there was that much difference in the performance. Key moments, not making the perfect decision at the final hurdle, or the final pass, or the pass before the assist, if you like, that weren't coming off, or the bounce just wasn't quite falling for us in the way that it had done in the rest of them games. I didn't think the performance was that bad. Blackburn had 25% of the possession. They had 5 shots on goal to our 19. Sure, a lot of our chances, they maybe weren't clear goal-scoring opportunities, as you'd put it, or whatever. But I don't think loads has to change between now and the end of the season. I actually think it's a bit of a mini-season now between now and the end of the season. I don't think what's come before really makes that much difference between now and the end of the season. We've all got 3 or 4 games each, and it's who can handle being in the fire in them moments the best between now and the end of the season. And the facts are is we've got the team to do it. We've seen that throughout the season. We've beaten Middlesbrough at Ellen Road. It was a tough game at Ellen Road. I remember thinking that they were one of the best sides I'd seen at that point. They played really well that day. It was a proper basketball kind of match. It was back and forward. QPR, they've changed a lot as the season's gone on. I'm hoping that they've got nothing to play for and they'll be safe by the time that we play them, because Loftus Road is just a difficult place to go. And then we have a final day shootout against Southampton. I do unfortunately think it's going to come down to that game. I think whoever, if one of them 2 teams can take 3 points that day, I think that team goes up. I think Southampton will continue to win. I think Leicester will be in real trouble come the end of that, because I think Leicester's form is a little bit different to Leeds' form. I think Leicester's form is a little bit longer term. We've seen some real poor performances over a sustained period of time. They didn't even play well against Birmingham, got over the line there. They did play well against Norwich, but were disappointed against Norwich that day. I thought Norwich really let themselves down after going 1-0 up that day. So for me, it's in our hands, mate. I know it's not mathematically, but I think it is. It's down to what we can do. There will be other teams that drop points between now and the end of the season, and I do believe that we're capable of winning enough points. I think 7 does it. I think 7 does it because of the goal difference. But yeah, it's going to be madness to see.
It's wild, isn't it, that we're in this position. If you've not liked the video already, if you could just please pop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well, that'd be much appreciated. I've got to say, now the other guys have gone, I would love to see Leeds and Ipswich get promoted. I'm not just saying that because Rich is on the stream with us now, but I actually would, because I think I was saying to Rich earlier, and I'm sure you agree, Jason, it's, if Leeds weren't involved in this promotion chase, my support would be with Ipswich. I would love to see Ipswich get back up there. I mean, you probably feel similar, don't you?
I think everybody loves an underdog story, don't they? I think any neutral football fan that's looking on at this, would be looking as Ipswich as a bit of a second club, the story, even Kieran McKenna and his pathway. We're listening in the car driving home about when Rich was talking about McKenna and Ipswich and the story and whatnot. I remember Kieran McKenna being a player that I used to sign on Football Manager when he was at Spurs. He was excellent centre midfielder. I know about his injury and his history, and to become a coach to the level that he's had in his early 20s and then progress through Spurs, Forest, Manchester United. I even believe he took control of a game for Manchester United as caretaker manager at an unbelievably young age before he then moved to Ipswich. So yeah, I think it's a fantastic story. And I know social media kind of blackens what happens sometimes, or what the true fan perspective is on something. Because I think earlier on in the season, there's been this kind of, Leeds fans just think we're lucky, and and I've said it, and I know Brownie said it as well. I mean, there's been times this season where I've not been able to believe what I've seen in some of the Ipswich games, some of the goals that you've scored and whatnot. But it's fantastic, and Brownie's absolutely spot on. Like, if we were running away with the league and this battle was between Southampton, Leicester, and Ipswich for second, I'd be rooting for Ipswich all the way, and I think they really deserve it. So if you guys go up, even over us after 46 games, you'll get nothing but fair play from me. Because I think
lucky old Ipswich, eh?
Yeah, I mean, over a season, it's never just luck. I think you make your own luck in this game. I do. Your determination and whatnot to continue over a 90-minute, 95th-minute game, as you said in the Southampton game. You deserve to lose that day, but the fact is you're stuck in the game, and you were the team there that then ended up getting the winner, and that's all that matters ultimately at the end of the day. There's different ways to win a football game, so yeah, I think Ipswich have got the least pressure on them going into this run-in, along with Southampton, because they've come from absolutely nowhere. I think Southampton will still be in the mindset this weekend anyway that they've got nothing to lose, right? But once they get there and then they go into that Leicester game, that's different. Their perspective changes completely when they play Leicester, because if they've won at the weekend, they'll be going into that Leicester game knowing it's in their hands. They can actually go out and win promotion, and then it changes again. So it'll be interesting. It'll be really, really interesting to see.
It's going to be all sorts going on mentally, isn't there, with the
turns.
managers, the players, everything. Just before we wrap up then, Rich, your final thoughts on the couple of weeks ahead and what's going to happen for the rest of the season?
It's hard for us, isn't it? Because we've just got to sit back now. I'd love it to be all over. You could look into a crystal ball and you know what's going to happen, but it's obviously it can't be like that. I was looking there. If you say, what did you think you're going to get, Jason? Did you think?
I think we'll get 7 points. I think we win
94.
Yeah, I think we win the 2 away games, and I think we draw against Southampton on the last day, and it's enough.
See, I look at the fixtures here, and I think all teams are capable of winning all their games, but that's obviously not. It could happen because you look at last weekend when nobody won. It could turn around the other way. But like I said earlier, I just want it to be in our own hands when we go into that game against Huddersfield, because it's horrible when you're relying on another team to help you out. And look, we are the underdog, but look, fairy tales, do they happen in football? Yeah, they do sometimes. I'm really hoping it does sort of this season. And like I said before, there is a little bit of pressure now on us, guys, that expectation, because we've got something to lose, haven't we? When you're going through the season, you're in December, January, you lose a game, then you think, it's not really going to be that critical. When you get to now, and especially if some results go, say Leeds win, Leicester win at the weekend, and then you say you beat QPR as well, guys, you'll be on another 6 points, and that'll ramp the pressure up on us, knowing that we've got to go out there and win. But then in reverse of that sort of helps us maybe, that you've got to win that game. You can't rest on your laurels and maybe a point's good enough. I still think we'll just have I think we'll just have enough to get over the line. Look, if we don't, it will be disappointing. You have to take it that you've come this far and you've got 3 games to go, but you have to still be a little bit realistic that we never thought we'd be here. McKenna sort of said that today. I was listening to when he won the Manager of the Year award on Sunday night, and the local journalist Stuart Watson done an interview with him, and he even sort of admitted that this season's been a bit of a surprise. But I love the way Kieran speaks, because we haven't lost that many games. But when we lose a game, say like when we lost to Norwich the other week, and everyone's really disappointed, it's our local rivals. But when you listen to Kieran talk after a game, and he brings it down to a level, and you think, it's not that bad. He keeps it on a level, even if we win, even if we lose. He's very level-headed, and I think he'll be the one in the dressing room calming everybody down, that calming influence. But hopefully the 2-week break will help us. I'm hoping we don't come back and then we start slowly against Hull. We should be absolutely flying out the blocks that night. We haven't played for 2 weeks. We've got it all in front of us. Whatever happens, the best 2 teams will go up, guys. Whoever finishes first and second, they'll deserve to go up. Whoever finishes third and fourth, you just have to go through it all again in the playoffs, and just hope, keep your fingers crossed. Look, if you went to the playoffs and you win at Wembley, ultimately that's brilliant, isn't it? If you could bottle that, and you knew that you'd go to Wembley and you'd win, sunny day at the end of May, you'd be probably taking that. You think, oh yeah, fantastic. But then there's always that at the back of your mind. You get in the playoffs, and a team like a Norwich, who are 20 odd points behind us, your season could just implode in 2 games, and all that hard work you've done. I'm not saying it's for nothing, but your season's just finishes like that. But look, that's why we love football, isn't it? We love it and hate it in sort of equal measures at the minute. But look, whoever goes up, look, they'll deserve to at the end of the day.
Just coming back to your point on Kieran McKenna there, I think that's something that McKenna and Farke have over Maresca and Martin, in that they're both very calm and methodical, and you know, they have some perspective on losing a game or dipping form, or what the challenges are with a young team or an inexperienced team or whatever. I don't think Maresca and Martin have that at all. And
you've only got to look at Maresca's comments, Jason, before they played Plymouth. You know, he was moaning about the travel and all this, and then even Russell Martin, after we beat him on that Monday, I know, like, after a game your emotions are high. He walked out the press conference. Someone basically said to him, "Oh, that's the top 2 gone," and he wouldn't have it. And look, he might have the final laugh. They might get in the top 2, but I totally agree with you there. Farke's obviously got the experience that he's done it with Norwich more than once, and McKenna's that level-headed. Russell Martin, I think he's a good coach, but I think he can lose his head a little bit. And Maresca, I think he's under massive, massive pressure, because if he knows that if they blow this, he's probably going to be out the door, I would have thought.
I think it's the biggest collapse in Championship history. I mean, if they don't finish in the top 2, it will go down in history as being the biggest collapse of any team at the top ever in the Championship, I would say. To be 17 points clear of third, and not finishing the top 2, not even forget winning, not winning the league, not finishing in the top 2, that'd be unbelievable. That would be unbelievable.
Crazy level this Championship this year. Unbelievable stuff. Right, we're going to wrap it up there. I want to thank everyone who's been getting your comments in. And if you've liked the video already, if you're watching again later, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel. And if you're listening on Spotify, please do leave us a rating and a review on there too. I want to thank all the guests as well. Rich from Talking Town, Martin Sanders, Locks, and of course, Jason Booker. I've been Stephen Brown. Myself and Jason will be back next Monday for the post-match review.
Come on, Barra.
Jason.
Come on, Barra.
Stop it, Rich. I will liking you.
So please do join us then. Until then, enjoy the rest of the evening. Thanks for watching.